Well, the problem is the water agency, they have a rather weak mandate. And it's not only I who think so. They are an agency like us, so it's not clear if, well, according to the ordinance, they can ask us about those things, but they cannot go above that. So it's limited what they can ask another agency to do, and also municipalities. Because they are independent. Then we come to situation and pressures. And one pressure is liquefaction, too much nutrients from agriculture, from wastewater treatment, from industries. And I think the color is a bit better there. So it's rather blue, so it's good status. Okay, no problem here, but we have more problem here from the coast up in the central part. Also in the south agricultural areas and a little bit here. That's related to agricultural areas. But in the north, fairly okay. Hydromorphological changes, that is dams, maybe nowadays. Of course, it is also changed rivers and streams. Dams preventing salmon and other fish to go up the river, spawn, dry riverbeds, and so on. There are, as you see, very many of these dams in Sweden. An enormous amount. You don't even imagine how many there are, because you think there are only these big ones in the north, but there are very, very many small ones. At one time, the government suggested subsidies for building new, small hydropower plants, but that was not very good, and people reacted against it because you destroy a river for very little electricity. So it's better to, and rivers in the north, some of them are protected, so you cannot build anymore there. So and the big waterfalls, they are already used since rather long time, but you can improve the efficiency of them. So and there is also about for each dam there is a permit, and these permits are very difficult to renegotiate. It's not easy. It's a long process, and there is also conflict about dams. For instance, fish people think dams are wrong because they prevent fish from coming up. Some other think that, well, they are good because they create wetlands and they remove nitrogen from it. So there are always some conflicts also within the county administration boards about these fish people and habitat people. So this is a very big journey, really. What you can do is, for instance, to build bypasses. And that has been done with many of these large dams. But when it's the small ones, there are often no bypass. Another thing we have is acidification, which is not the biggest pressure. It's less than acidification, but it's a rather big one. Especially in the north, and I think no one of your countries don't have that problem, so therefore I didn't show it. And then of course we have chemical status, and that is especially mercury. Almost every single lake in Sweden has too high mercury, almost. Well, not all of them, but and it depends on earlier fallout. And concentration could even increase if you combat liquefaction. So the production is lower, so concentration could be even higher. And we thought we got rid of that problem in 1960s, but 10 years ago, this mercury that is tied up in soil started to leach out, and it continues to do so. And it's very difficult to stop it. So when European Commission makes statistics about chemical status, they say, well, except for Sweden, then they don't use the data for mercury in Sweden, because that will bias the statistics completely. Because we have so many lakes and more or less all water bodies are.
What are the main sources of mercury in Sweden? I mean, in 60s, 70s.
Well, there were by some factories to do leaching.
So it's industry.
Chloralkali industry.
Okay.
That made it, and that was and they produced bleaching material for the pulp and paper industry. And they actually, there were a whole range of them from down here and up there. And if you make inventories of the soil, you get pattern exactly where they are. They follow these line of industries. And they were closed down, I think, in the 60s and 70s. So it's 50 years ago. So it's a long problem. Now we have the environmental situation in European Union 2009, and it's a report from European Environment Agency 2012, and they assessed 111 river basin districts. There were more reporting, but it was incomplete, so they couldn't use all of them. I think there are about 160 or something. So, yes, and it will be shown for this red areas, or for this that is growing, and you can see your countries, it's close to it. You can extrapolate. Maybe not to Ukraine, because it's a bit different. So this is share of water body status, less than not reaching good environmental status. And red is a large share that don't reach this target. And the green or yellow is there we have a better status.
Yeah.
So you see it's very brown here in Europe, and that is 70 to 90% of the waters that does not reach good status. A little bit better in the south and in the north, but Sweden has especially on this also relatively high, and mainly because of eutrophication. Because this is ecological status. I only speak about ecological status. And you can see the percentage that doesn't reach good environmental status 2009, that it was 44% for lakes, 56% for rivers, lakes a little bit better, coastal 50, and transitional water worst 67. But they are not so many, so you cannot compare them really. But of course, transitional waters are always affected by river outflow, because they are normally at the end of a big river. And normally they are in polluted rivers.